there, Hollister, San Juan Bautista, and South Gilroy, streaming live worldwide at
WednesdayRec.com.
That's right. Joined in studio right now, very special guest, talented young lady. She's coming out of Gilroy. She goes by the name of
1 a.m.
You gotta get a little bit closer to the mic.
There you go.
1 a.m.
There we go. There we go. 1 a.m. joining us in studio. Want to thank you first and foremost for taking the drive out. How was traffic?
There was none. But thank you for having me. Thank you for asking.
Absolutely. So I became aware of you. They were playing you on the Saturday sesh with Cal P and M7, and I was, as any good DJ does, you listen to other shows and you like, hey, that would, I like that. That would work on my show. So I tried to, it was a long process trying to find your music on iTunes because the link you have goes on your website goes to Apple Music, which isn't necessarily the same thing as iTunes. So I had to somehow circumvent that and build kind of like my own link within iTunes. And what I realized was when you go to Apple Music, you right click it and there's a drop down screen says show in iTunes, and then I figured it out. Then I found you on iTunes and started downloading all your stuff.
Oh man,
so,
I'm sorry. I'm actually an Android user, so.
Well, so that's what I have too. I have an Android. Yeah.
So it's pretty confusing with the Apple stuff, but I'll make sure to fix that.
No, I mean it's fine the way it is. I mean, people can figure it. If I could figure it out, anybody could figure it out. So So I mean, tell me a little bit about yourself. What's the 1 a.m. story?
Well, I started breakdancing in high school, and I would write a lot of poetry and stuff like that. And somewhere down the line, it just turned into rap.
Let me ask you a question.
What's that?
What made you get into breakdancing?
Well, I grew up around it, and a lot of my friends were doing it, and I was like, wow, I want to do that. That looks like fun. They would do battles and stuff like that. And
this is where you live at
in Gilroy, yeah.
And this was, 10 years ago? I'm guessing.
Yeah, this was I was a freshman in high school. I was fresh out of middle school, a freshman in high school, and
and they were breakdancing in Gilroy back then. Wow, I couldn't even.
They don't have it anymore in Gilroy, but they have it in Watsonville. It's actually the DSR crew.
Wow.
Yeah.
Did you know this, Kazzeo?
It's amazing, and it makes me feel like so damn old. Was that 10 years before she was even born, I was already winning awards for breaking in Santa Cruz.
Oh, no way.
Yeah.
Hey, props.
Yeah. But I mean, I'm just so old now, surrounded by a youngster like yourself. But, so the whole thing with breaking, I mean, was it kind of like a novelty at the school, or were there actually dedicated crews that were doing their thing?
No, so it actually wasn't even in school. It was actually at my friend's uncle's house, and he'd have all the kids come over. He had his whole garage set up, and he was the one to pretty much set up all the different performances and contests and stuff like that.
Wow.
So
have you ever seen the movie Beat Street?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
I'm pretty sure I have the book. I have a little book, and it teaches you some of the moves.
That's great.
But,
so let me ask you, what was your signature move?
Man, I was really into footwork, to be completely honest. I would try to do the power moves, but I'm too tiny for it. But I really loved what was it called? Swipes. You know what swipes are?
Right.
Yeah, that was
one leg or two.
I could only do two.
Okay. And what about did you venture into windmills or anything like that? Or?
I tried, but I don't know. It's weird. You would think because
you're
I'm
a very
really light.
small girl.
Yeah. I didn't really have the upper strength to really do that, so I just stuck to footwork, and I liked popping and tutting and stuff like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So being involved in breakdancing and you're writing poetry, so then you're saying so that is what.
Yeah, I was more exposed to all the different elements of hip hop. I didn't even know what it was until I actually got into breakdancing, and that's where they kind of taught me, graffiti and all that other stuff. And the crew kind of like it broke up naturally, you know what I mean? So I didn't have anything to really put my time into, or all my like frustration and stuff like that. I didn't have an outlet. So writing poetry was like the next thing that I was doing, and I would write a lot of like singing songs, but I didn't really like my singing voice. So I'd listen to a lot of like Eminem and Missy Elliott and stuff like that. So I was just like, I just try rapping it and see, how it goes. And I would like study Missy Elliott's flows and try to like put my own words into her flow, and that's kind of like how I taught myself.
That's cool.
Yeah.
So, going back to the breaking aspect, so you said your uncle was the one who kind of introduced you to it.
My friend's uncle.
Oh, your friend's uncle. Yeah. Like when you're getting exposed to it, like what kind of soundtrack are you using for it? Are you using actual like old school stuff, or are you using, modern music?
No, it was a lot of the old school stuff, like Big Daddy Kane and like,
oh, wow.
yeah, like a lot of the old stuff, Planet Rock, and
wow.
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I was exposed to a lot of that, and then on top of that, my mom, she'd always have like the oldies, like the lowrider oldies and stuff like that, a good mix of stuff. Mm-hmm. So I was pretty like well-rounded with like just music in general, I guess.
That's cool.
Yeah.
So of your crew that you were together with when you were doing that, were you, when it all like dissolved and like everybody went their separate ways, did anybody else like naturally progress to other aspects of hip hop, or are you the only one that moved on?
Oh yeah, a lot of the guys that were, at least that I went to school with, a lot of them got into tagging naturally, and I think one of them got into rap, and he even dissed me, which is kind of funny.
Oh, what's up with that?
Oh man.
It's one thing to like diss like another dude, and then, I don't mean this to sound like sexist or anything, but for a guy to diss a girl, come on.
It's pretty funny, but he got into rapping, but it kind of died out, I guess. I don't know. With a lot of people, I noticed, they get into something and then they just kind of stop. But if you really have passion for something, you're going to continue doing it. You know what I mean? So
it's very true.
Yeah.
It's very true. So you have a few releases out. We're going to concentrate on the latest one off top in the next segment. But tell me about some of the earlier releases.
Okay, so like from when I first started, or
yeah. Just tell me about the discography.
Okay, so I used to go by OG Chucks, which stood for Only God Can Help Us Here Keep Sane, and I would just make mixtapes in my room. Yeah, my first mixtape was called I'm Just Me, and it was a really badly recorded. I recorded it on my iPod, but it was like a little kind of like an EP, and then from there, man, I have a lot. The Dark Light Show, Antique. That Antique was like my first 1 a.m. actual tape. But as far as like OG Chucks, I think I have maybe like 5 tapes out, and then the rest are like 1 a.m. tapes.
So OG Chucks to 1 a.m. How did that happen?
So, I felt like I needed to get out of my old ways. Like, I felt like that was just like my old self. Mm-hmm. And I kind of wanted to just naturally, you know what I mean, become a different person. I'm getting older, I'm more mature. So a lot of my old stuff is like my high school days where I'm just like immature, talking about this and that. And that's when I started getting really serious. Like, I wanted a serious name, you know what I mean? I wanted something that represented me as a person. Like, I would always stay up I'd always work on music like at 1 a.m. I'd stay up all night working on music until the next day I got to go to school. So that kind of stuck to me. And then I'd always, very spiritual. So naturally I wanted my name to be connected to God. So 1 a.m. reminds me of when God says, I am, Oh, wow. So
interesting.
Yeah.
She's got a lot of meanings to a lot of different things. That's cool.
Yeah.
It's very cool. So we're going to get into a song here. It's off the current EP, Off Top, which is available on iTunes and Apple Music right now. Is it on Amazon as well?
Yeah, and Spotify, Tidal, all that. Nice.
Hitting all music platforms. This one's called Bring It Live. Production-wise, who put this together?
Oh, Bring It Live. Bring It Live is actually on what's it called? Silent Thoughts.
Oh, I thought it was on Off Top.
Yeah, no.
Oh, okay.
Bring It
Okay.
Live is actually on Silent Thoughts, but
Apologies.
no worries. It is actually on all the streaming sites. I produced it, and I worked with an artist called Glorious, and she's very, very, very underground. And I met her recently, and I was like, wow, like you have such an amazing sound, you know? So that was just kind of like, I wanted her to bring it live, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like bring it live. So that was kind of like our thing with the song.
Oh, so you hadn't met her until recently, but you worked together before that, or you worked together after you met her?
I worked together after I met her,
Oh, okay.
yeah.
Okay. Little confused on that. But anyway,
My bad.
solid track right here. Again, this is 1 a.m. featuring Glorious. It's called Bring It Live. And she's going to stick around for a little while, talk some more, and let you know about the Off Top EP, which is the main one that's out right now, the latest one. Give us a call.
Yes, 831-758-5432, 831-758-KHTC.
That's right, man. We're back in the place right here. It's 90.9 FM KHTC Radio Bilingüe here in Salinas and Monterey, 104.1 FM out there in Hollister, San Juan Bautista, and South Gilroy, and of course,
WednesdayReg.com.
That's right, that's right. Still in studio, joined by our very special guest, 1 a.m. It's not 1 a.m. yet. It's only almost 7:35.
But it's 1 a.m. somewhere.
That's right. It is 1 a.m. somewhere. Interesting little handle you have there online. How'd you come up with that?
It's actually all credit to my friend Eddie. He was actually the one that came up with that for me.
What was his rationale for it? Do you know?
That I do not know, but he's very creative, so.
Okay. Well, no, I mean it's good. It's catchy. You know, it's not like just a let's find 1 a.m.
Yeah.
It's like, well, you gotta find 1 a.m. somewhere. That's like unique and like that's like the blue check without having the blue check.
Yeah. It's a trip too because music is not like a physical. You know what I mean? It could be anywhere. It's like a spiritual thing too. So yeah, It's weird how that works out.
So I know you've been you've been building a buzz, getting a lot of shows coming up around here locally. You just did a couple shows in Santa Cruz, I believe, right?
Yes.
What were the nature of those and how'd they go?
The first one was a youth event. We were raising money for the homeless youth in the Santa Cruz County, and that one was really awesome. I don't know. I've never really been a part of something like that, like in Gilroy. So just being able to like see that come together, for the community, I really like that. And then later on that night, there's actually another show in Santa Cruz at the Blue Lagoon, and that was actually like a rock show, and that was like a first time for me to be a part of a rock show. So that was really cool too.
So after you did your set, did you go out and whip your hair around and snap your neck a few times, or what happened with that?
I didn't do that, but I actually got really inspired by the band. I think it was Judo No. That's the band name. Like they really inspired me. They were playing a bunch of different instruments. They're experimenting with different genres within their music. So that really inspired me because I love so many different types of music, and that's kind of like what I do in every mixtape. Like I always change it up, so that was kind of cool to see that and be a part of that.
So this is V-Dog here, finally back on the microphone. I got a question. So I know you said you produce your own music, and you were talking about what you use. What got you into producing? Like, is that something you wanted to do from the jump after breakdancing, or...
I've always been interested in like making music. Like in elementary school, I started playing the trumpet, and I was in choir. In middle school, I got introduced to the drums. In middle school, like my friend had like an old school phone, and it had like this weird app that you can just make little beats on. So I would always just mess around, but it was never like, oh, I'm gonna become a producer. It was nothing like that. It was just like a weird creative thing that I like to do. And then later on down the line, like I got into like Fruity Loops and stuff like that, and now I use Machine. But it wasn't much of a big deal. I don't know.
So it's something you were always kind of doing.
Yeah.
You're like, just to save yourself some time and add
Yeah.
to something to your name. That's good. Now, do you do live instrumentation now, or I mean, I've listened and I know you told me you mainly use machine. Is there any live instruments that I maybe missed listening to some
Well, I play some of the piano
Okay.
originally. I'm still like trying to teach myself a little bit more in depth.
Okay.
I play a little bit of the guitar. I'm starting to get into bass guitar too. So I definitely tried to introduce like live instruments, but for the most part, most of the instruments that I have used are the electronic.
Okay.
Yeah.
She's trying to be like Prince.
Yeah.
Play like every instrument.
It's fun.
So, like, what's the scene like in Gilroy? I mean, who's next? Is there like more groups coming up, or what's the story?
To be honest, like I don't know too many out in Gilroy that be doing music, but I mean, because a lot of the people from Gilroy that I knew who kind of did music, they kind of died out. So I don't know if you're out there in Gilroy, get back on it.
Yeah,
But
she needs some inspiration.
I need some inspiration from you guys, but I mean, I don't really know too much of what's going on in Gilroy. So if there's anyone out there in Gilroy, hit me up, because let's get our city popping.
What kind of artists do you liken yourself to? I mean, like, who do you like draw inspiration from, like, nationally? Like, what acts, like, you say, oh, I want to do something like that.
Well, I really love Michael Jackson. I like Selena Gomez. I like Revolution. Like, I like artists that are not afraid to be themselves. And like, for example, Childish Gambino, I really like how he's about not putting himself in a box. Like, he likes to do acting and comedy and stuff like that. So I think not being afraid to step out of your comfort zone, I think that's pretty much the best thing.
You got something, Escobar? I thought you were going to lean in for a question there.
So you said earlier you did another radio show, another interview. Are these the first radio interviews that you're starting to do now?
Yeah, I mean, like, I've done 2 online, and it was one of them was in the UK, and the other one was somewhere in the United States. I can't remember off top.
How did they find, or how did that happen? UK hit you up? Someone from the UK hit you up and wanted to interview you? They heard your music?
They found me on Twitter.
Oh, wow.
I just tweeted like a song, and they're like, oh, wow,
Is it anyone we're familiar with? It's a
college radio. I'm pretty sure they stopped now. I can't remember off top what their name is. But it was like a small little college radio, kind of like podcast.
Mm.
And that was that one. And then another one was called Chapter of the Article. They were also on Twitter too. They do a lot of like artist interviews, but I'm not entirely sure where they're based out of. I can't remember. It was so long ago.
So have you been able to do any shows like outside of the 30, 40 mile radius?
I think the furthest we did was San Francisco, right? Yeah, I think the furthest San Francisco, yeah.
Nice.
So
how was your reception there? Were they feeling 1 a.m.?
Yeah. I've been blessed to have, down to earth people at my shows. I really do want to travel and get out, out of my comfort zone and go to different areas of Cali and maybe out of state too.
So I'm curious, what made you decide to in your production to use the machine studio is what you're using?
Yeah. I came across it like on YouTube. It was just some girl, and she was like, it was mainly like EDM, like all of the tutorial videos for some reason for machine are like EDM and like house music. But I really liked that they had like this MPC looking thing, and I'm like, ooh, like hardware, I want to touch it.
Yeah.
So like that kind of inspired me, and like I figure, you don't have to make just that music,
I use Machine Studio. I use the Machine MK3 Mini when I travel.
Okay.
But I have a question.
Yeah.
When you sample, how do you save that sample to your sound bank?
You don't know how to do that?
I'm having problems with that. I'll turn it off, and then I can't find the sample unless I save the whole sample in a sequence. But I want to save the sample as just an instrument to where I could use it next month instead of having to save it in that same song that I
Yeah.
used it in? Have you figured that
Well,
part out
I
yet?
mean, when I do it, I record you record into Machine, right?
Yes, yes.
So I record into Machine, and it kind of just stays there. Like
Okay.
it's in my samples.
in your sample as
Yeah.
as your archive
as just
of,
as just like
haven't-
different sounds.
I haven't figured out how to do that yet.
Yeah.
I have to load up the song that I
I'll
use that
probably have
sample
to show
in,
you
and
then.
yeah, you have
See
to
what's
get
going on.
exactly. Yes,
Dude, she's laughing at you
I
right
know,
now. She's
right?
like, what a rookie.
I know.
Man. Hey, so what is next for 1 a.m.? What's the next accomplishment you're trying to get at?
Well, I definitely want to do more shows for this summer. But I am working on another project. I'm always striving to just keep going. So my next thing is to try to get down kind of like lo-fi, more sampling. I don't really sample too much, so I kind of want to get into that, and it's going to be kind of more acoustic kind of vibe in this next one. And it's really about mental health this time.
Mhm.
So my focus is just digging like deep within me and kind of bringing out more of that, so then I can kind of help other people with my music.
There you go, man.
Awesome.
Good stuff. Now, people want to catch up with you online. How they go about doing that?
So I'm mostly on Instagram at it's 1 a.m. somewhere, but I do have a website, www.iam1am.com. I always, if you subscribe, I always post like the flyers of the next show or upcoming releases, or sometimes I even give people early listen. So
It's very true. Very true. So the Off Top EP is what you're, the main thing, the latest thing you got out now. We're going to get into the title track. What do we need to know about this before we, get out of here and get on to the next?
this whole tape was produced by Kai. Shout out to Kai.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Camera guy, Kai.
No, Kai, he does beats, and he
okay.
does he raps too, and he's actually from Gilroy, so shout out to
Nice.
him for doing that. And basically this is for everyone who loves boom bap hip hop.
There you go, man. There you go. We want to thank you for coming in this week. It was great to catch up.
Thank you for having me.
And, we hope to hear more from you soon. And when something is ready to go again, you're more than welcome to come back in.
Appreciate it. I'd love to be back.
Absolutely. So check it out. This right here is 1 a.m. It's called Off Top. And we'll catch you next week. Peace.
Yes, peace.
Going through life, I be going off top, living life freestyle, non-stop.